Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're doing a RaceDay scoring certification refresher. So thank you all for joining us today. This session today is really going to be like what we've done in the past for RaceDay scoring certifications, but particularly it's going to be helpful for timers who have gone through certification in the past and need a refresher. So what that means is that we aren't going to be doing this as in depth as the original class, like the one that we did a few weeks ago. We're not going to be going through all of the concepts and definitions of race day scoring features. Basically, what we're going to do today is go through the certification class, assuming that you all have a pretty good general understanding of how race day scoring works, but you just want a refresher on the class itself. So I have Chris McDonald on the back end. He is going to be helping out monitor the comments and questions that come in the chat. So if you haven't used GoToWebinar in a while, remember on the right, there's a toolbar. You can use the chat or the messages to, or questions panel, I guess, to send us a note if you have any questions, or if you are stuck in any point of the certification class and need assistance, Chris can help you out. So again, if you get stuck, just try to put whatever you're having a problem with in the chat. Chris may be able to help you. If you need desktop assistance, he can send you a Google Meet link and he'll be able to assist you in that way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're hoping today's session is going to be about an hour and a half. Not quite sure, but we'll see. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to turn off my camera here. Okay, so we're going to go into details on what we need to do today later, but basically today's purpose, again, is setting up a very basic race with race day scoring. We're going to cover all these topics on the right here, and you're going to set up and build a sample race and be able to basically score it and generate results and publish them to RunSignup. So we'll download and install RaceDay scoring, create a race in RunSignup using RaceDay scoring, import an example participant list, set up a file stream to import those times that we give you, create a timing location, map your streams to it, set up events and age groups, collect reads from your stream, view reports, and publish them to RunSignup. So like I mentioned before, if you do need any assistance, on the right, there should be a little questions panel that you can type your question into, and we'll be able to help you out. If you need desktop assistance, just request it right in here, and we'll send you a Google Meet link so they can provide assistance to you. And I'll try to stop throughout the session today to make sure everybody's on track, but if someone is getting behind, feel free to just say that you need desktop assistance, and we'll get with you. Another thing to keep in mind, these sessions are rolling, so we don't necessarily need you to finish the certification during the class today. You can take the quiz at your own speed and your own time, and if you need to. So today, what you'll need to have is a Windows PC, a RunSignup timer account. If you don't have one yet, we can show you how to do it. I'm hoping most of you already have one at this point if you're just needing a refresher on this. We need RaceDay scoring 3.3.27 and some patience. We always take these pretty slow. So because this is a refresher, we'll be going a little bit faster than normal, but we do want to make sure that we're not leaving anyone behind. So first thing we're going to do is just make sure we downloaded RaceDay scoring. So if you are working on an older, out-of-date version of RaceDay scoring, there's a chance that the in-app updater will just not work properly. So it just takes way too long to process because it's so far out of date that it's just not going to work. So if you've tried this process, when you open up RaceDay scoring and you try to download an update and it just gets stuck like at 66% or something like that, and you leave it on for hours and it doesn't update, what you'll want to do is just download the app directly from your timer dashboard and install it right on top of your old version. You don't need to uninstall it. You don't need to worry about losing any data. Everything's going to be there. you'll just download a whole new version of the software and put it right on top of your old one, and you'll be good to go. So first step, if you aren't updated, just make sure you open up your app and make sure it's up to date by clicking that check for update button, and you'll be able to download it right there. Now, if you don't have it, or if you have to install a new version of it on top because it's not working for you, you're on an out-of-date version, you'll want to go to your timer account on RunSignup. So just go to runsignup.com/timer, and you'll be able to see a button in this little area here under my timer accounts to go to the dashboard. And right in this area, you'll see settings. Oh, this is for timer access stuff. Don't even write that. So you'll go into software and then download and just select Windows, and you can download it right here. So this is what, again, you need to do if you're unable to update software using the in-app updater. Just using the in-app updater is fine if that works for you. Yep, so just install it. All you need to worry about is clicking the .exe that you've downloaded, and it will run through the installation process in the background. If you are evaluating RaceDay scoring, feel free to use it in demo mode. If you're just trying it out, we don't have it restricted or anything like that, so go ahead and feel free to try it out as you see fit. And we don't lock it down to only so many results or anything like that. Just use it, and if you decide to start using it commercially, we just ask that you purchase a license. Okay, so before we get much further here, let's put up a poll to see where everyone is at. So first off, I want to get a poll to see how many people in the room have already attended a RaceDay scoring certification class in the past. All right, perfect. Looks like everybody in the room, is in fact needing just a refresher on this. They have all been in attendance before, so that's good. Next, do you have a Windows PC today for certification class? Looks like I have at least one person who responded no. So we don't support Mac at this time for RaceDay scoring. So you will need a Windows PC in order to complete the course today. And if, again, you need to come back and do this later, we record these sessions and we share them out so you can certify yourself on your own time later if need be. Okay, let's see if everybody has been able to download and get the latest version 3.3.27 installed. All right, looks like most people have done this. There's a couple that are saying that they have not been able to do that. So it may just be that it's downloading in the background. That's fine. You can follow along while we go. And if you get to a point where you're still struggling getting the latest version installed, put a question into the questions panel and we'll help you out. Okay, so next, we're going to go through getting the participant and chip read files. So what we have done is on GoToWebinar, there's a handouts area here, and you'll see a document, and in that document is called V2 RaceDay Certification Refresh Information PDF. So this is going to have everything that you need in order to complete the course today. So you can go back and reference this as needed. So just this is the most important thing that you can get today, this handouts sheet. So just go to your handouts panel, download it, and it's going to be a PDF with all of the information that you're going to need for today. So this is what it's going to look like, and it'll have a bunch of stuff on it. This is the recording of the last session that we did. So this could be helpful if you wanted to retake this on your own time. You can watch the last certification class. This introduction presentation is what we were skipping over for today's quick and dirty session. If you want to watch it, it's a really nice overview of some definitions and the different areas of race day scoring and the different features, a bit more of a deep dive. So if you would like to go through that, you can, but it's not necessary. And this is the certification presentation that I'm going through right now. So you can follow along the presentation if you'd like to, or reference back at any time using this certification presentation. Here are the links to download the participants and chip read files. So these are the files that you're going to use today to build out the race that you'll certify with. Participant list and chip read file. Next is the link to the quiz. So at the end of the class today, you'll be taking a quiz, and you'll need to fill out this Google form to complete it. So just click this link and it'll open up in your browser, and you'll be able to finish out the day either today or tomorrow or whenever you're able to get it done. You'll just need to fill out that quiz. And then some other links, link to help guides on help.rdscoring.com, link to schedule further training sessions. And finally, we have all of the steps that are gone through today. So if you want to refer back to these, it's easier to just look through a list. You can do that. So you'll notice that we have all of these links here that link over to help documents that are related to these different areas. If you want to learn more about creating file streams or setting up timing locations, or setting up scored events, you can just click those and it'll bring you over to our help doc on that topic. So this is a really helpful sheet, and it's going to give you absolutely everything that you need to get through today. So if you get lost or if you get off track, you can always just follow these steps and you'll get through it on your own. So let's see if everybody was able to download these files. But first, actually, yeah, let's go back. Make sure that I did everything. Yeah. So before we go to the next poll, what you'll want to do first is download and unzip these participant list and chip read files. So you'll need to basically click these links and it will download it in your browser, and then you'll need to unzip that file, and we're going to use those to pull in the participant data and the chip read data. So when you do that, you'll see that like the participant list will download as sample participant list folder, and you'll need to extract it. So just in Windows 11 here, you'll click extract all once you get the file. So you'll click it, and in Windows 11, I just click extract all there, extract, and it puts it in a folder on my desktop. So that's what you'll need to do. So you'll do that for the participant list and for the chip read file. Just put them somewhere handy, and we'll work with that. So let's just make sure that everybody was able to get the documents and download those files onto your computer. looks like we got everyone responded to the poll, or most people responded to the poll. Should be all good. I saw someone with their hand up. If you do have a question, just type it into the questions panel and we'll assist you there. Okay, so most people got through this, so we'll just move on now. Again, if you start getting behind, just let us know and we'll assist you. So the next thing we're going to do is create a race in RaceDay scoring. So when you open up RaceDay scoring, you'll see that there are a few different options here. What you'll want to do first is click the Manage and Score Races button on the left. This will bring you to the area where you can see any of the races that you have set up on this computer and where you can build new races or import them from export files. So today what we're going to do is create a new race. So there's another option at the top there. You see import a race on RunSignup. So most of the time, if you're using RunSignup for registrations, you'll be importing the race that's already on RunSignup. Because we have a sample race that we are providing to you that you're going to build from scratch, we can't really show you how to import a race from RunSignup, but it's very simple, and you can learn more about that in our help area. Basically, you just import a race from RunSignup, you provide a range of dates that the race could be in, and then you select it and it will import it. So when you do that, all the participants automatically come down from RunSignup, and it's a whole lot easier. But today we're going to be building it manually because it's a lot easier to show everyone how to do that from one file this way. Okay, so once you have selected creating a new race, you'll be typing in some information about the race. So at the very top, we're going to select Publish Race to RunSignup. This will make it so that this race will actually show up on RunSignup. Mostly this is used so that you can publish results. So a lot of races that you're going to be setting up manually, maybe using some other registration provider, you'll want to publish it to RunSignup if you want to have live results. So this is the way that you would do that if you were doing that. So once you have selected Publish Race to RunSignup, you're going to fill out the form as follows. So the name should include your name and then RaceDay certification. So mine's going to be Matt Avery RaceDay certification. Next, time zone should be set to New York. That's what mine is, but it should default to whatever your computer clock is. So that's what you should use for yours. Next, the location. We're just setting up a fake test race, so it doesn't really matter. You can just do 123 Test Street, any kind of city and zip code is fine as long as it's a valid zip code. So you can put up your hometown zip code or something like that, and that should work. It's just going to be a test race, so you don't need to worry about making this accurate. So the URL is going to be basically a part of the URL that's created at RunSignup. So RunSignup automatically generates a URL for the race based on this tag. So you're not putting like the race's website link here. You can't put anything like www.http: whatever. You're not going to be able to do that. So this is just a tag. So it's like defaulting in is going to be Matt Avery RaceDay certification. So you don't want to put any kind of special characters in here at all. You're not putting a website URL. It is just a tag. So you can customize this if you need to. The only time you'd really have to would be if, for whatever reason, there's another race that exists in the same town that is the exact same name. You would need to make it more unique. So if you get an error about the URL tag not being unique or something, just put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the end and it should be fine. Most important thing is do not put a website in there. Okay, so once you've gotten through this, let me actually show you. So we did this class about a month ago or a little bit less than that, can't quite remember. So one small area has changed since then, so these screens were not updated. But I'll show you. So we're going to go ahead and create a new race. I'm going to push it to RunSignup. I do have to log in. I'm going to call it Matt Avery RaceDay Certification. Going to put in Philadelphia. No, this actually hasn't changed quite yet. It's changing Wednesday. Tomorrow, that'll come out. We're going to start pre-filling this race director contact email with your timer contact email, but that's not yet today. Okay, so I filled out all my race information, and now I'm ready to start putting in event information. So let's get started with that. So there's two types of events in RaceDay scoring that you'll run into. There's registration events and there are scored events. When you're setting things up manually like this, there's always usually going to be a one-to-one relationship between registration events and scored events. So you'll have like a 5K registration event and a 5K scored event. Now, the reason we have it set up like this is because sometimes registration coordinators have like 5K age-based pricing, 5K club pricing, but they're all scored together. So we make it so that you can easily combine registration events together to create a single scored event. But for a basic race that you're setting up on your own, it's going to be just 5K registration event that is a 5K scored event. So you'll just need to understand that there's kind of two events in RaceDay scoring, a registration event and a scored event. Typically, you'll have scored events for each distance, so like a 5K, 10K, 15K, and half marathon. And if you had subdivisions of those, like if you had to do, I'm trying to think of a good example of this. If you had like a 5K where you had, you wanted to produce separate standings for people who are firemen based on a custom question response, you would typically not have a separate scored event for that 5K. It would typically be all in one category, and then you would split out those firemen later on when you build out reports. But today we're going to be doing just a simple event, so we're just going to do a single 5K. So just type in 5K here, and that'll get us started. Next, select the event type. This doesn't even matter. You could pick anything you'd like here. I'm going to pick run or run walk because it makes the most sense to me. Next, we are going to set the start time. So this is going to be like essentially what the race organizer expects the start time of the race to be. It's not going to be the actual start time. So you'll see later on, we'll be setting the actual start time. This is just the expected start. You can think of it that way. So you can set this to 7:45 p.m. All right, so we are going to be setting this to be a 5-kilometer race. Now, with RaceDay scoring, you can set the distance in units in kilometers, but make the pace report in miles per or minutes per mile. So don't worry, you don't need to make a 5K 3.1 miles. You can just set it to 5 kilometers, and then you can just choose to display the pace in any way you want later on. So I'm going to set this to 5 kilometers. So we are not going to be adding another event at the bottom there. We are just going to go ahead and click create. So let's go ahead and finish this off. So in my event name, I'm going to pick 5K, run or run walk, and the 4th, 2024, I believe. Yep. And I'm going to set it at 7:45 p.m. So this is an evening race and it's in the future. So it's in April the 4th, 2024. Hasn't quite happened yet, but it's just a test. We're going to be using a date out in the future. And I'm going to be setting this to 5 kilometers. All right, so I think I've got everything I need. I'm gonna go ahead and click create. So now the race should just load like this, and we are all good to go. So let's see if we were able to create the race. Yeah, Duncan, it's all the same file. So if you have the old ones, you can use them, or you can use the new file. They're the same ones. Still waiting on a few to respond, but I think we can go ahead and move on at this point. Okay, so the next thing that we'll be doing is starting participant sync. And you'll start to see a theme in RaceDay scoring. We are going to be walking down the menus on the left here. So we started in the home icon, and we're going to go to participant sync next. So this will basically kick off the sync process in RaceDay scoring. It's going to basically start the sync so that participants that are added in RaceDay scoring will automatically upload to RunSignup, and any registrants that come in to RunSignup automatically will load into RaceDay scoring. Additionally, this area does allow you to customize what data comes into RaceDay scoring from RunSignup. Say if you were timing a race, you imported it from RunSignup and it had a custom question tracking, are you a firefighter, yes or no? You could choose to import that data and use it for filtering a report or building a top finisher category or something like that. This is where you would be customizing all that information. Today, we're going to be importing participants from a simple spreadsheet, so you don't need to change anything here. So all we need to do is click the little participant sync and click the green button on the right to save sync settings. And now things are up and running. So now that we know things are starting to sync, we're going to import our participant spreadsheet. So again, today we're going to be importing from a file. It's a lot easier to demonstrate to many people at a time than importing an existing race from RunSignup. So if you were connected to an existing race on RunSignup, participants will automatically show in the app without needing to import them. Again, today it's just we're going to be showing you how to import from a file because it's a whole lot easier to demonstrate to a bunch of people. Just a quick story on this one. Our very first certification class we did a few years ago, we had everybody linking to the same RunSignup race to pull all the participants down. And it turned out to be a disaster because someone accidentally deleted everyone. So everyone's participants all got deleted. So that's why we don't do that anymore. Everyone has their own race that they build so that if someone does delete other participants, they don't get deleted for everyone else. Moving on, so we're going to go to the participants tab. And so you'll see on the left here, home icon, the sync icon, and then the little people icon. So that's what we're going to select, the third icon down. And in this area, there's a toolbar, select import, and then you'll be selecting that file that you grabbed from this handout. So this again is just showing you how to extract the file if you need to. So once you have that all done, you will, after you've clicked import, you will select the file that was unzipped. Just click this choose file button here. what will happen is it will present a set of field mappings. So that's saying that it saw in the file that there were a certain number of columns with different headers, and it saw that, let's say, first name probably is first, and last is first name, and so on and so forth. So you can just review this. It should automatically map correctly. So if you're using this on an actual spreadsheet of data, maybe from a different registration provider, they don't call it an event, they call it a category, or they call it a division or something like that, and it doesn't automatically map, you'll want to review to make sure that the event category is properly mapped to the event in RaceDay scoring. So we've got this spreadsheet set up perfectly so that everything will map automatically, but it's good to just review it and see what data is getting mapped anyways. So at the very bottom of the mapping area, there'll be a button to click to select yes, start import, and that will just go ahead and import the 1,825 participants. So here's what it looks like. You kind of scroll all the way down and you click add or update participants, and yes, and then it will import all of them. So let me just show you what I did there. So first off, I want to make sure that I am syncing. So I'm going to go to participant sync and save sync settings. Next, I'm going to go to participants and teams. Then I'm going to go to import. And I don't know if I actually unzipped this file yet, so let me do that. Okay, participant list. Extract it. Extract. Okay, good. I've got my download sample participant list and my spreadsheet right here. And you can take a look at it just so you can get an idea. It's a pretty basic spreadsheet. We do only support text spreadsheets, so CSVs or TXTs. We don't support Excel documents, so you may have to save an Excel as a CSV or as a tab delimited file. We got event name, age, gender, zip, city, state, last, first, and bib. Looks good. So now I'm going to go in here, and after I've selected import, I'm going to now pick the spreadsheet I want to use. And I've got my sample participant list folder, and here's my spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down, and we'll see some of these are mapped and others are not. So it saw a column called first name in my file, and it figured that that's probably first. Last name is last. Gender is mapped to gender. Age mapped to age. We didn't have a DOB in this. If you did, you could map that. If you didn't have age and you only had DOB, we'll calculate the age from the DOB based on the race date. Event name got mapped to our event, which is good. Bib number got matched to bib. City state, good. Zip code got mapped to postal code, looks good. And we were all set. So I'm going to go ahead and just select add or update participants and import. Okay, so now if I go back to participants, I'll see that I've got some participants in here. And you'll see if you click into a participant, we see that there's like a registration ID associated with them. So that means that they have been uploaded to RunSignup. And I can click this and access the registration there if I ever wanted to. I can use this RunSignup links area now on the name of the race and like go look at participants here if I wanted to. So you can do all sorts of stuff. I'm not logged in quite yet, but so now I have all my participants in here. I know they're syncing to RunSignup. We are ready to move on. But before we go, we are going to do a poll. So was everybody able to import the participant list? Looks like most people have responded. So we're going to go ahead and move on. To streams. Okay, so streams are RaceDay Scoring's way of connecting to external sources of timing data. So there's a lot of different examples of ways that you can get timing data into RaceDay Scoring. It could be a chip system middleware, something like ChronoTrack Fusion, MyLapse Timing and Scoring. You could connect to that via a direct connection, a TCP/IP direct connection, or it could be a folder with a file that you are dropping timing data files into. So, and some other ways, you can do a direct connection to actual devices themselves for IP ecosystems. There's all sorts of ways of connecting to different chip system manufacturers out there. So each and every single manufacturer has a different kind of setup process for RaceDay Scoring. So if you have any questions on best practices for your particular system that you used, feel free to reach out and we'll give you a rundown on what the best practices are for your specific system. We also have a whole bunch of guides on each and every system. So they are a little bit different. So it's important that you test it out and try out because they are just a little bit different. So basically, streams get the raw data from the readers or from your middleware, and then later on in the setup, the RaceDay Scoring decides how to filter that data using timing locations. So timing locations are basically telling the system, should I get the last read or the first read, and when should I stop collecting reads, and when should I start collecting reads, and how am I going to use those reads? That's all done later. Streams are just saying, okay, give me all the data you got. Some important thing to note here about file streams, which is what we are going to be using today. We never point to a single file. What we do is we point to a folder and we consider all of the times in all of the files within that folder equally. So this means that you could have a folder that's going to be for your start that has files from a whole bunch of readers in it, and it won't be a problem. It's just going to reference all of them equally. Now, you may not want that. You may want to have different folders for each of your readers. It's totally up to you. We're very flexible in that way, but it's just important to note that each stream points to a single folder and references absolutely everything inside of it. Now, there is a way when you set up a file stream to have a filter to say, okay, I'm going to look at this folder, but I'm only going to look at files in that folder that end with log or txt or csv or whatever your system requires. So we do have some customization there to allow you to filter out other files, but we always recommend that you just always have a clean folder for your data that you're streaming in on RaceDay. Typically, a lot of timers will just have a folder directly under the C drive that's today's reads. It's called today's reads, and they clear it out at the end of the day and archive the data after the fact. So it's just a basic folder that it's consistent across all their computers, and it just is reserved for dropping today's reads into. So that's a nice way to kind of handle it. So you'll see on the top toolbar here, there's this little icon. It says reads, and it's currently red unless you clicked it. And basically that is the system saying whether or not it's currently collecting reads. So in order to get any data from the streams that you have set up, you have to click the button, and then it will start pulling in all of the files in the folder that you have it pointed to, and it'll start pulling in all the read data from those files. So I mentioned this a little bit before. There are some chip systems that require a different type of setup. Specifically, RFID timing, IPECO, and Trident are a little bit different. So we have guides on how to set up all of these. If you have specific questions on them, feel free to refer to the guide and reach out to us if you have more questions. So like with RFID, if you're a user of that, you have to provide the IP address of the reader, because RFID always names the file like 192.168.1.10, and we use that as a way to separate out specific files in a folder, because RFID dumps all files into a folder. So again, they're all a little bit different. So the general advice I'm giving you today is going to be specific to MyLapse, which is the most basic integration. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually add the stream now. So next item on the toolbar is the little download looking icon where we'll access the streams. So click the stream setup tab, and what we're going to do is click add stream on the right there. So one thing that you want to be careful with is if you used RaceDay scoring in the past and you're a user of a different chip system than MyLapse. So we're using MyLapse today because it's an easy one to train people on and give an example file of. You may have used the settings button here to basically customize RaceDay scoring to only show you RFID streams, for instance. So if, as you're walking through this, you're like, what the heck, I don't see any of these options for MyLapse streams, it may be because you have customized RaceDay scoring to filter out all of those. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I go into streams here, there's a settings button, and this allows you to say, I want all my streams to be IPECO, because I know that's what I always time with. If I were to do this and I tried to go in and add a stream, it's only going to show me the streams that are relevant to IPECO. It's only going to show me IPECO direct and active timing, and if I selected file, it's only going to show me IPECO Trident, because it's very similar to IPECO, and backup timer files. So if you're seeing something like this where you're just not seeing what I'm seeing, it may be because you have a default set here. So if you do have this for today, just go ahead and revert this to the defaults and save it so that you can have access to all of the different stream types for today. So just good to keep in mind if you feel like you're missing something there. Okay, so streams can be used between races. So you want to make sure that your stream name is something that identifies the reader or folder that you're getting reads from. This varies greatly between different systems and even between users of the same system. So feel free to get in touch if you have questions about best practices. If you give us an example of how you typically get your data and how you manage your archives of data, we'll give you some best practices. But basically, the way it works for MyLapse at least is that you'll typically have a folder that's created for each of the locations and timing and scoring, and you'll just point to that folder with your stream in RaceDay scoring that's set up for you. So today we're just going to call our stream MyLapse file finish, so I can easily identify that it's a MyLapse one, it's a file type, and it's going to hold finish reads. So as I mentioned before, there's two main varieties of streams, direct and file. Each chip system type can use a direct or a file stream depending on your needs. So direct streams use a connection via TCP IP to either a device itself or the middleware product provided by your hardware provider. So that would be like timing and scoring for MyLapse or Fusion for ChronoTrack. File streams reference a folder on your computer hard drive where chip read files will be placed and updated either by a device itself, middleware, or even potentially by Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive. Some people will sync reads from a remote location, like a split point, over to their main scoring computer via one of these services. So today we're going to set up a MyLapse read-lite file stream. Okay, after I have added the name, I'm going to skip over description and select a stream type. So this part gets people hung up sometimes. First, from the stream type dropdown, select File, Custom, or Chip System Type. This will basically allow you to see all the different file options that we have. When you do that, another dropdown will show up. And from that dropdown, you select MyLapse read-lite file. Now, when you do this, the first dropdown, stream type, changes. It reverts to read-lite file. So those both will match. That's how it's intended to work, so don't get too worried about it. And I'll show you right here. So basically, on the left, you'll see stream type file, custom or chip system type. And then this file type, I'm going to select MyLapse read-lite file. When I select it, the stream type changes from file, chip system, or chip system type to MyLapse read-lite file. That's totally expected. It's okay. So if you see this, this is exactly what you want. They'll both say the exact same thing. It's fine. So this is what you want. Just select file, custom, or chip system type, and then MyLapse read-lite file, and both of them will update to match. Next, we are going to select the folder path. So remember, we don't actually reference a single file. We reference a folder, which can contain one or many files. All reads from all files in that folder are going to be combined into one stream of data, which can be used on one or many locations for scoring purposes. So today, we'll take a look and see what the extracted file looks like. Sometimes it creates a folder within a folder that we have to point to. So let's just take a look at that on the next screen. So this is what I did. I took a file and I extracted it, and we'll see here that it extracts to a file, and there's a folder right here within it, and then within that folder, there's the actual TXT file, which is what we want. So back to the stream setup, we'll go in and select the sample chip reads. Make sure you go all the way down. So you'll see there's like 2 sample chip read folders. There's like a subfolder. That's fine. You just want to get all the way down to the root folder here. It's just a weird thing with how extracting files works with Windows, I guess. But you'll just have to make sure you go all the way down to the bottom of the file. So let's just walk through that really quick. So in my downloads, I've got I didn't download it quite yet, so let me do that. Okay, I've got my sample chip reads. I'm going to extract them. And now I have a folder within this folder called sample chip reads, and there's my actual chip read file. So it's just like a folder within a folder. It's a little bit weird just because of the extraction thing, but it's fine. So now that I have that, let's actually start creating my stream. So I'll show you. I call it MyLapse file finish. Doesn't actually matter what you call it. I just like to call it something that makes sense. So I'm going to use it for finishes. It's a file type and it's of the MyLapse format. I'm going to pick file, custom, or chip system type. Then I'm going to pick MyLapse read-lite. And here, it's telling me make sure that there are no files in this folder other than timing files in the proper format. If the system encounters other kind of files in this folder it is not expecting, it can cause system instability and potential database crashes. So make sure that you aren't putting in like PDFs or other kinds of files in there. it's just going to slow down RaceDay scoring because it's trying to reference everything in that folder. So just keep your data files nice and clean. So I'm going to go in and grab my folder. So I've got my sample chip reads, and I'm going to go all the way down to I see no items. That's perfect. It's looking for folders, so it's not going to actually show my file in here. That's fine. It's expected. So just get all the way to the bottom and select folder. It should read, something like that for you. Yep, this is kind of showing you what I was describing before. It will kind of put a nested folder in there. Just make sure you go all the way to the bottom. It'll look like this, something like that. So next, we are going to set a file extension filter. Today, it's MyLapse, and they always have a TXT extension. You don't have to actually do this. If you leave it blank, it's just going to pull in all files. So it'll work exactly the same if you left this blank or if you set this to TXT. Most importantly, do not put a period in here. It'll say that right underneath, do not include a period before the extension. Make sure that you only include the text there like TXT, not .txt. Or you can leave it blank. Either way will work the same for today. Finally, we are going to select a bib tag for the system type because I know that's the format that the file was created in. MyLapse has two different system types, ProChip and bib tag, and today this file happens to be bib tag, so that's what we have to use. Again, each stream type has different settings, so as you actually explore RaceDay scoring for your particular system type, these things may look a little bit different. That's okay, you're just going to have to learn how your system works. Okay, so next we are going to assign this stream to be used as a finish. So you can do this in two places. You can do this right here as you're building your stream, or you can do it in the timing location setup later on. To make your life a little bit easier, you can just do it right now. So we are going to set this as a main stream. Typically, main streams are used for every chip system that you have. So you can assign multiple streams to a single location as main streams, and all of the reads are going to be considered equally between those different streams if you happen to have them. The only time I really recommend using backup streams is if you're doing like a manual backup. So you have like a PC timer backup or a Summit timer or something like that, or where you really don't want to use those times unless you absolutely have to. And the way that works is that we say, let's say bib number 1 missed their chip read, their chip fell off, and you had someone manually recording times with some backup timer, and you imported those as a backup stream. So we would pull in a backup time for that person only if we were 100% missing any kind of read at all for them in the mainstream. So if the backup stream had a read and the mainstream had a read for someone, but the backup happened to be earlier than the mainstream, we'll not choose it. We only choose a backup stream read if there's absolutely nothing for that participant on a mainstream. So that's why I typically set all of my chip systems to be main and only like a manual entry type of system to be backup, where I really don't want to use it unless it's a last resort thing. So just select finish for our main today, and we will be good to go. So next, what we're going to do is click this button, set to race date, under the change all read dates to. So this is really important because in particular for MyLapse ReadLite, no date is provided in the stream. So if you looked at the chip read file, there's nothing in there that indicates what day it's coming from. So in RaceDay scoring, everything is based on the time of day of the read and the date. So we have to make sure that the date is set correctly. So in RaceDay scoring, if no date is provided, we assume that the reads occurred the day that you collected them. Now, because this is a race, it's happening in the future, that's going to cause all sorts of problems if the system assumes all of the read dates are today, because today is way before the 4th of April, 2024. So we give you this big giant note that says, hey, this particular system doesn't give you date in the passing data. We highly recommend that you push this button. So push that button. Make sure that the dates are all getting translated to the 4th of April, 2024. That way you're not going to run into issues. So you may be fine for a real race because you're just going to time it on the actual day that the race occurs. The problem you'll run into if you don't set this is the next day when you're doing corrections, if you ever have to restream data, guess what? It's all going to come in the day after the race, and you're going to have really long times that'll look all messed up. So if you get this big giant warning, just click the button. You'll be good to go. All right, so just a review, we are setting up, the name will be MyLapse file finish, the stream type is file, and then MyLapse readlight file. File type is MyLapse readlight file. Folder path, just browse through your folder, find it, dig all the way down into the lowest level of that sample chip reads folder structure. Select bib tag, make sure that the text extension is set. Assign it as a main stream for the finish, and then select the button to set to race date so that it is the 4th of April, 2024, and then save. So let's just run through that again. So I started this, and I need to set my type to be bib tag, and I need to say that this is going to be used for the finish. Now, we just build by default a start and finish location for each race to make this getting started a little bit easier. And you can customize this in the next step. So if you had a race with a common start finish, you could do that. If you had a split point, you could add that. So we just kind of assume most races have a separate start finish, but you can change it and customize it as you need. For now, we're just going to go ahead and click finish because I know we're just going to do a finish only, no starts today. And I will change all the read dates to the day of the race, which happens to be the 4th of April, 2024. So that's good. I don't need to worry about any of these advanced settings, and I'm just going to click save. All right, now I see that I have in my list of assigned streams, MyLapse file finish. Now, I had some streams out there from other events. I could have used one of those, but these aren't what I want to use today. It's just good to know that you have available all of the streams that you've used on this computer. If you wanted to reuse one, you totally could. But in this case, we wanted to build a new one because probably most of you aren't going to have this particular type set up. So we are all good with our streams. So let's see if everybody was able to get through that. So this is the probably the hardest part of getting started with race day scoring is learning about how to set up the streams because they're all a bit different. There's a lot of settings. But yeah, let's just see how everybody's doing. It's like most people have gotten it, which is good. All right, so I think we are all set. Let's go ahead and move on. So next we're going to talk about timing locations. Touched on this briefly in the last one. So basically, timing locations are collections of one or many streams of read data. So the read data from those streams is then filtered based on the location type. For example, if you have a start location, we select the last time seen for each bib. And if it's a finish or a split location, the reads are selected based on the first time seen within that time range I provide. Most importantly, timing locations are where you set up your time filters. These are where you control what range of times should be considered valid for this timing location. So this is where you'll say, okay, I've got a race starting at 8 a.m. and I'm going to set up a finish line. And I don't want to even start considering times until 12 minutes in, because I know I've got no world record holders in my race today. So you'd say, I want to start considering finish times after 8:12 a.m. and the system will just go ahead and ignore any reads before that time. So just a note on streams and locations. It's possible to have one stream being used in many different locations, and it's possible to use many streams tied to a single location. So there's a lot of different things you can do here. So this allows you to have multiple devices assigned to the same location or a single device assigned to multiple locations at once. The latter can be useful if you need to have separate time filters for one event if you have multiple distances running over the same locations at different times. So for example, if you had like a 5K and a 10K and they were like a 5K in the morning and a 10K in the 10K in the evening, you may want to set up completely different timing locations because the time ranges won't make any sense for the 5K if they were used in the 10K and vice versa. So what you could do in that case is have one stream where your finished data is coming into, and you have that one stream hooked up to two different locations, 5K finish and 10K finish, where you've customized the time filters for each to be specific to the actual time that the event that is using it runs. So we're very flexible with how you can set this up. You can have all sorts of different things that you can do here. So just to understand that you can have multiple streams on a single location and one stream on multiple locations if you need to. Like I said before, we automatically set up a start and finish location, but you can decide to change the default setup around if you want to have, say, a single common start finish location. You can delete the locations you don't need, but you don't have to. You can leave the start in there, it's not a problem. If you're timing a finish only race, you can leave the default start location. There'll be no issues at all. So next, in order to make sure that the correct times are assigned to the finish location, you'll need to set up time filtering for it. This will let the location know what times should be considered for scoring and what ones should be ignored. So to get started, go to timing locations and then settings. And we'll see here what we're going to be doing. So by default, at the top, we'll see it's considered a finish and or split time location, which means that we're going to select the first time seen for each person at that location as their finish or split time, depending on how you're using these times. At the bottom, we'll see the filtering. So this is where I'm going to say, after a certain time, I want to start considering finishes. So in this case, it was an evening race, 7:45. I know there's no really fast people there, so I'm going to start considering finish times at 8:01 p.m. So let's walk through each of the settings here. So in this consider finish split finish times after, this is where we need to set 8:01 p.m. because I want to say for this particular race, there may be some reads before 8:01, but those are not legitimate times, so I want to filter them out. So just set this to April 4th, 2024, 8:01:00 p.m. Just make sure you got the date right. It's most typically, if there are issues with getting reads in, it's because the filters are set incorrectly. So just make sure you get this set to the correct date and the time that you mean to set it to. So this configuration is going to filter out any raw reads from any streams assigned to this location that took place before this time. You'll be able to actually look at the reads in the raw reads area of RaceDay scoring, which I'll show later on, so you can troubleshoot. They are not going to be converted into what we call scored reads. So basically, they're not going to be used for scoring. They'll be out there and they'll be ignored. They'll say that they were filtered by time. Next, we are going to set the occurrence count. So the occurrence count for a location is telling the system, I expect to use a certain number of reads per participant at this location. In this case, it's a very basic 5K, so it's just they should all pass this point once. So I'm only going to consider one read per person, and it's going to be the first one within the time range I've provided. So in this case, we just set it to 1. Now, there may be other situations where you have multiple passings on a location, like you might have a 5K, 10K, where both events are using the same location, and the 10K does 2 laps and the 5K does 1 lap. In that case, you'd set this to 2. Today, we're just going to set it to 1. So this is just telling the location, hey, later on when I set up my scoring, I'm planning on using 1 occurrence for this. And later on, you'll have to define how you're actually using those occurrences. So it may be a triathlon where you have transition locations, and you're going to have to figure out how you're going to use those reads at some point, but that's not right here. Right here, we're just saying I expect to use X number of occurrences at this location per participant. So for today, just select 1. All right, so we are about ready to take a little break here. Before we move on, let's go ahead and set up our location. So let's go to timing locations. I have a start. I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to select the settings for finish. And I'm just going to review. I see that it's set to be finish or split times. That's perfect. It's going to select the first time seen within the given time ranges. I've already got my stream mapped to my location here. My date is properly set, so I'm not going to change that. I am going to say that I want to start collecting reads at 8:01 p.m. And I'm going to set my max number of occurrences to 1. And we have a note now that just tells you this doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't actually tell the system how it's using the occurrences. It's just saying, hey, I expect to get this number per person. So we're just going to set it to 1 because we just want 1 finish per person, and we'll be good to go. So we don't have to do any of this other stuff down here. If you needed to, you can do more filtering at this location. If you wanted to have a specific range, instead of just saying everybody after some time, you could do everybody after some time and before some other time. If you needed to have a more defined period. You can also accept bibs between whatever. So if you had a race with a 5K, 10K, and you knew all the 10K runners were wearing bibs 1001 through 2000, you knew all the 5K runners were 1 through 1000, you could filter that out on a location level if you needed to do that. Today, we're not doing anything advanced like that, just setting our 1 single time filter. Everything after 8:01 is considered, but only the first one. So that should be it for locations. So let's see if everybody is on the same page. Are we able to all set up our timing locations? All right, looks like everybody is responded yes, so I think we are good to go. So we are going to take a quick coffee break, so just about 10 minutes or so to give ourselves some time to take a nature break or get some coffee, whatever you need. So let's go ahead and say that we are going to resume 10 minutes, so 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard. And we'll regroup and finish this off. The hardest part is done, I think. So once you get back, we're going to be working on setting up scored events, building out age groups, and pushing results to RunSignup. So I'll see you back here in about 10 minutes. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Sorry about leaving the poll up. I meant to have this showing so everyone knew when to get back on, but it's now 1:20, so we'll go ahead and get started, finishing out the rest of this. So next we're going to be working on setting up our scored events. So in the very first step, we set up registration events, and they're called a 5K. Like I had sent, there are some situations where there's a bunch of different registration events set up on registration that you don't care about. So you have a 5K, a 5K club pricing, a 5K age-based pricing, or whatever. Those are all getting combined and scored together. That's what we call a scored event. So you'll see here on the right a little diagram what we have going on. We have a 5K run, let's say, a 5K walk, and a 5K club pricing that are all getting combined into a single scored event called 5K run. So this basically will drive all of the reports for your race. So typically, if you ever plan on combining registration events together, they have to be in the same scored event. So in this case, let's say I had an event with a 5K run, 5K walk, 5K club pricing, and I wanted my main report to be all of them together, but I also wanted to do a special report that was just the clubs, the club members. You'd still want to include it in one event, and then you would just build another report down the road that's 5K run, but only the people in that 5K run that are in the club pricing event. So in this case, it's very simple. We are just doing one 5K run, and it's a registration event. We have a scored event set up that is named the exact same thing. So it's much more simple today, but it's just good to understand how that relationship works. So to get started, it's going to be very straightforward. We're going to go to the Scored Events tab on the left, walking down the items in the list, and then just click Quick Setup. What this does is it automatically creates a scored event for each and every registration event you have. So it's a really nice way to get things pre-filled for you. It will also pre-fill the event distances from the registration event information. So when I click Quick Setup for the 5K, it will fill in things like the default event distance and the default unit and the default pace display type. So that's all pulled down, and it will automatically select my 5K to be included in this scored event. The things that we'll want to do to customize this today are we're going to score by clock time. This basically is just telling the system what's our default sort method going to be for the finisher lists. Do you want to sort by their clock time or sort by their chip time? In RaceDay scoring, if you don't have any chip reads, clock and chip time are just the same thing. So it wouldn't matter in this case which one I selected because they're both going to be exactly the same. You can select this option to exclude chip time when generating default reports. This will basically mean that the first time you save this page, if you checked this box, you're not going to see chip time in the reports that are generated by default for you. You can always customize reports after the fact if you wanted to. This is just if you wanted to make sure that things are set up the very first time around the way you want them to, you can do this. Next, most important thing is we're going to set the actual start time. So this would be where you would put in the time of day that the race actually started. So you might get this from a GPS system. You might get it from a plunger on your reader that marks a certain time of day. You might get it from a Garmin watch. Who knows how you get it? You enter it in here. Basically, there's a multitude of ways to do this. You can use RaceDay scoring to start the race itself by on the dashboard. There's a way to do that. You can import a marker read from your chip system. MyLapse and ChronoTrack and others have a way to, they have a marker, a predefined marker read type that we are able to use. There's a lot of different things you can do here, and we have good help docs on that if you're interested in learning more. For today, we're just going to manually type in what I know was the start time of the day. Let's say the starter had a Garmin GPS watch that I knew was synced with the readers, and he wrote down 7:44:00.013 p.m. and texted it to me. And so I know that I've got the right one. So that's what we're going to set right here. go to 5K, make sure I got the right date, and I'm going to set it to 7:44:00:013 p.m. And then I'm going to click save. So as I mentioned before, we set a start time directly into the scored event setup. You can also set the start times from the dashboard and from a gun trigger record from most chip systems. You can also use things like corral starts. If you happen to have an early start for a race that you needed to assign some people to, you could use a corral to do that. Or you could have multiple waves represented as corrals. There's all sorts of things you can do. I have links to each of these areas in the slide deck if you wanted to learn more about how to manage start times with RaceDay scoring. But just know that you can start it in a bunch of different ways. With respect to the actual start times, if you set them on the dashboard through this screen, it just updates the actual start time on the scored event setup. So that's where it actually holds the data. So let's just go through this setup. So I'm going to select this scored events tab, and it's telling me that I have some registration events associated with this race that are not mapped to a scored event yet. So I could click add scored event, but I'm not going to do the quick setup because it's easier. So I'll click quick setup, and it'll fill in like the event distance based on the distance of the event that is selected here. It's important to note that you cannot combine registration events that have a different distance into the same scored event, because it wouldn't make sense to score 5K and 10K runners in one report. So it's not possible to select events that have a different distance here. So sometimes it'll get weird if you have a race director who set up like 5K club pricing, and they just happen to put 3.1 miles instead of 5K in one and not the other. The system is very specific and they have to match exactly. So you have to make sure that they're the same units too. So 5 kilometers or 3.1 miles, as long as it's the same, you'll be able to select multiple here. So I'm going to exclude my chip time when generating our default reports. And I've got my date set properly, and I'm going to go 07:44:00:013 p.m. I think. Yeah. 7:44:00:013. Yep. So that's good, and we should be ready to move on now. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. And now I have my scored event saved. So let's just make sure everybody's up to speed. Well, actually, now we're going to do top finishers and age groups together. So we're gonna move on. And again, if you have any issues, feel free to put it in the chat. But we are going to keep moving on to age groups. So let's go. So top finishers are basically your method of saying, I want to pull out the top 3 overall male, female, or the top masters, male and female, from their age group categories. So I'll set this up first, and then we'll set up the age groups next. So on the left, click the little trophy icon for top finishers, and then click select or set top finishers. Next, we are going to select add another band. We're going to call our first band overall, and we're going to set it to 3 males and 3 females. It doesn't matter what you set to non-binary. You can set it to 0 if you don't have any, or 3. Even if you did set this to 3 and you don't have any participants that are non-binary, it's not going to show anywhere, so don't worry about it if it is set and you don't have anyone. It's just not going to display if no one is valid for that category. So we default this to 3 and 3, so that should be all you need to get started. This is basically just going to remove the top 3 per gender from their age groups. So type in the description, leave the defaults of 3, leave the default to remove overall winners from age groups, which is typically what you want, and then click save. So let's just walk through that first part. Set top finishers on my age groups. And I'll see the 5K age groups. If I had 5K, 10K, I'd have to select each of them individually. Today, one event, it's very straightforward. So I'm going to click add another band. I'm going to say overall. You can set a short description if you'd like. It just makes the report look a little bit tighter. If you prefer that, you can do like OV for overall. I am going to set males and females to 3. Non-binary can be 3, even though I know I don't have any. Doesn't matter. My priority is 1. That will come in handy when we set up the next band. So if I click save, we're gonna now move on to setting up our masters band. So click add another band again. And now in here, we're gonna call it masters, and we are going to change the how many per gender to 1, because we only want to pull 1 masters for this race, let's say. Now you'll see when you do this, the starting age automatically goes to 40, because typically most races will have an overall, a masters, and like a veterans and a super veterans. So we just default in the starting ages, assuming that's what you want. You can always change that. So if your masters actually starts at 50, you can just change the starting age to 50 right there. So let's just add my masters. I'm gonna say MA here. Starting age at 40. I have a priority of 2. So priority of 1 means it's the best, priority of 2 is the next best, 3 is the next best, and so on and so forth. That's useful when we talk about band jumping later, but we'll talk about that when we get there. I'm going to set this to 1 for each. And that's all we need. So I'm going to leave band jumping to all. What this does is it's telling the system how I should manage things when someone happens to qualify for more than 1. So you'll see in these bands, it's just a starting age. There's no ending age. It's not like this, is people between 40 and 49. That's like an age group. It's not the same thing. So what happens is a 40-year-old could get first place overall. They could win the whole dang race. What do I want to do with this? Do I want to say that they won overall, or do I want to say that they won first masters? All means that I will always allow people to jump up in category. So if a masters happens to win first overall, they should always get the higher priority award, because I think that's fair. Now, you could say none. So let's say if masters, someone 45 won first overall, if they got first overall and you had it set to none, they would not get the overall award. They would only get the masters award. You may want that. There may be situations where that's what you actually expect. There's things like if you set a Clydesdale top finisher category, you want them to get the Clydesdale award always. Or maybe you want to double dip. So maybe you say, you know what, if you got first overall and you're at 40 plus, you win Masters Award and overall award. So that's another option for you. And by rule is basically you define prize money values. That's the best way I can describe it. So I know that first overall for the Masters was 300, and first overall for standard overall would be 1,000. So it compares the values of what you would get, and it awards them the best value. So if like first Masters is more valuable than third overall, it will give the person the better value position in the band that they qualified for. So most of the time this is set to all, but it's just important to understand if you ever have that situation where people are qualifying for multiple bands, you got to kind of think about this. You can do things like participant filters if you ever needed to. This is a very powerful tool if you need to do things like filtering on custom questions. Like if I wanted to create a top finisher category that's all the firemen have their own category, you could do that here. But today, very simple and straightforward. I'm just going to have my overall and my masters, and we're ready to go. So if you're working on a more complicated race, you could copy this band to all my other events. If you knew that overall and masters was 3 and 1 for all 10 events, let's say you had, you could really easily just copy and paste it using this function. Or if you had a bunch of similar bands within this event, you could duplicate the bands within it. We got a lot of nice features in here. So now I've got my top finisher set up. I am going to go ahead and start building out my age groups. So next, we're going to navigate to age groups, click the range insert. This allows us to blast in a ton of age groups at once and gives us a nice preview of the age ranges we're going to add. We're going to set the range size to 5. So in this particular case, I've got 5-year age groups. I'm going to put in female and male age groups, starting at age 10, ending at age 79, 3 winners per age group, and I'll automatically insert upper and lower age groups. This is going to say it's going to automatically build out to like a 1 to 10 age group and an 80 plus age group. So if you click range insert, you'll see here that it will give you a nice little preview on the right of what's going to be added. So this is what you're looking to see on the right before you click add ranges. That, 1 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, and at the bottom we have our 80 to 99. So let's go and do that in RaceDay scoring. So I'm going to set my range size to 5 and see my values update. I'm going to build male and female age groups. Sometimes you need to do all if like you're doing a kids race and they don't care about gender, they're just putting everybody in one category just based on their ages. Sometimes they do grades like that. But most of the time you're splitting out age groups by gender. I'm going to start my age range at 10, end at 79, 3 winners per age group. And then I'm going to automatically insert upper and lower age groups. This looks good. And it will just put in all of my definitions. So now this looks good. And if you needed to, you could insert age groups in between or delete them one by one. You also have ways of importing and exporting age group definitions. If you have like a common set of age group definitions that you use for all of your 5Ks, you could have a file that you upkeep that's your standard age group, so you can just import it instead of having to do that process. A lot of nice things you can do here. So I'm just going to save it and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I've saved, and now let's just see if everybody is on track. We have set up scored events, we have set up top finisher categories and age groups. Are we all on the same page? All right, looks like most people have responded yes, we are all good. So let's keep on moving. So next we are going to start collecting reads. We're finally at that point, we're ready to start pulling in times. So let's go back to the dashboard using this little home icon in the top left. And the top toolbar, we're gonna start collecting reads. And you should start to see reads come in. It does take a little bit for the connector to start up and start to pull in the reads, but eventually you'll see on the right here some reads show, and you'll see in the scored reads by location, some show down here, and then you'll start seeing results. So let's go back to our home, and I'm going to start collecting reads, and in a minute, or not less than a minute, it'll start to come through. So I'll get a notification, and it'll say that I've got some data in the folder already. It's going to pull it in for me, which is what I want to see. So they start coming in. So they kind of jump all at once because we have all of the reads already in the file there. On RaceDay, they trickle in, obviously. But now I see that I've got some reads over here, and I've got some reads down here. And so basically what these are my raw reads. These are all the reads that came in from my streams. So I see down here that I've got 440 that were ignored and 812 that were actually used. So if you need to investigate, you can use this area. You can click the ignored reads and see what's going on. I got 29 unknowns. I've got 411 occurrences not defined. So these are people who were walking around after their finish and got picked up at the finish line. We ignore those because they don't make any sense. You can click into the raw reads. You want to investigate someone's times. So I see Johnson and Aranda as our winner at 3897. I could come in here and I could filter 3897 and see their reads. You can also just actually click any of these links in here on the bib numbers and it will filter for you. So you can click right there and it will show me all the reads for that person. You can filter by name. You can see all of the reads that were unknown or not defined. You can use this to really see what's going on with your reads, and you'll see ignored reasons. It'll tell you like, hey, this was not used because this occurrence wasn't defined. So that means 3704. If I change this filter on, I should see, yep, there we go. I got this first one. They got a read 808:38, and then they got another one a few minutes later. So we correctly ignored that one. So the raw reads is really where you'll do your troubleshooting. Scored reads, again, is where you'll see your final accepted times for each runner. And then recent reads is it'll just show you, and like as reads come in, the most recent one. So this is essentially the last place person. And then in the top 5 per gender, it's just showing you a basic leaderboard of your first 5 men, your first 5 women, and if you had non-binary, they'd show here. We don't in this case. And if you had multiple events, you could switch it around up top. So let's just see if everybody was able to get the reads to come in. All right, looks like no one has responded. It looks like we got one person maybe is having issues. So if you're still struggling, again, feel free to reach out into the questions panel and let us know, and we'll be able to assist you. Okay, so now we're going to look at reports. So we, by default, create a few different reports for you automatically. But RaceDay scoring is really flexible, and it allows you to do whatever the heck you want with reports. You can change them, you can add new ones, you can customize existing ones, you can do whatever you want. We just build a few by default for you. So whenever you save scored events, we create an overall report for each scored event you have. Whenever you add age groups, we build an age group report for each scored event that you have age groups set up for. So what you'll see is in this reports area, a few different reports that are built for you. So I don't know why I didn't have my age groups, but, oh, sorry, I do. I was expecting 2 scored events, my fault. So I have an age group report and a 5K overall report. So this was built when I saved scored events, and this was built when I saved age groups. So I could come in here and I can click a report to view it. And I have some little links to get to specific age bands if I wanted to. So this is a nice little report, and it allows you to see all of the data for all of your age groups. Your overall report is your basic overall, shows you your leaders, their different placements in their division or their age groups, and their clock time. So you can change all this stuff if you wanted to. So you'll see here in the top right report, you can edit a report directly from the view, or you can go into actions on the right here and edit it. You can duplicate a report or delete it or do whatever you want. When you get into the report builder, this is what you'll see. You can edit columns, you can move them around. If you wanted to say show pace before time or whatever, you can drag and drop these. You can add more columns. If you wanted to put more information, you have a lot of different information available. So you can play around with this and customize however you'd like. Filters and sorts, you can change the sort of the report. If instead of sorting on the entire race clock time, you could sort it by something else. Like if you had a split point, you could sort it based on their finish time at the split point or something like that. There's a lot of different things you can do. Filtering allows you to say, I want to limit this report to only those who are meeting some condition. So maybe you had a custom question that was like, are you a fireman? Yes. You could say, only show me people in this report who are firemen. Yes. There's a lot of things that you can do with this. And We're not going to go into detail on that because I could spend another 2 hours just on talking about how to customize reports. The one thing that is handy, you can go into the age group report, and we originally set up our age groups to have 3 award winners per category. This show award winners only is really nice. This will allow you to basically say, I want to limit this report to only show those who actually qualified as an award winner. So I'm going to save that and view it. So now, instead of there being a ton of people in these like 30 to 34s, it limits it to just 3. So this is what I would use to give to an awards presentation, for instance. So that's like the basics of viewing reports. Like I said, you can just click name to view. You can edit reports using the actions and edit icon or drop down. You can do all sorts of things here. I have some guides that are linked out in this. If you wanted to play around with it some more, feel free to. You can search in a report. In addition, you can also find results for participants in their participant record. So if, for instance, you see Johnson here and you wanted to see more details about the results, you have 2 options. You can either click their name right here, or you can look for them in the participants report. So I could type in Johnson and then click their name. But if you see a link anywhere in the app, you can just click it. So I'll get into his record this way as well. And I see over here his times. If it were triathlon, I would see his different segment times, the timestamp of his reads. So like I can see he started at 1944, which is 8:08 or 7:44, and then he finished at 20:04. So you can do some math and figure out whether or not it's accurate. Looks like it's all good. So you can do all sorts of stuff in here. One nice thing is if you're looking at someone and you know their time's wrong, you can really easily get to their raw reads by clicking View Raw Reads. And this will bring you right to this raw read view filtered by their bib number. So you'll find a lot of things like that in RaceDay scoring. You can link back and forth between different areas. So it'll take some time to get used to the flow if you're not used to it, but after a while, I think it becomes like second nature. So yeah, you can click the participant name, like I had said. And the next thing we're going to do is we are going to show you how to push results to RunSignup. So a really important thing is that RaceDay scoring doesn't automatically publish results to RunSignup. So right now, nothing is going to be on RunSignup for results. If I went to the RunSignup links and I viewed the results up here, there's not going to be anything available right now. So don't worry about setting this up in advance of a race. You're not going to be, pushing results unless you absolutely tell it to. And the way that we push results to RunSignup are what we call autosaves. So autosaves are a way for a report to push data automatically to a bunch of different sources. So, or destinations, I guess. So what you'll want to do is select autosave settings for my overall report. The way that we integrate with RunSignup is that you only need to publish the overall report for each event you have, and it will automatically build out all of the age group categories on RunSignup for you, as long as you have this age place column. So this age place column is what builds all of these divisions out on RunSignup automatically. So the short of it is, if you have like a 5K, 10K, just publish the overall report and the for each. So if you tried to save the age group report, it's going to tell you you can't do this for RunSignup, and that's fine. You don't need to. What you need to do is select autosave settings for the overall report. So like we said, click autosave settings here. Click the plus button under RunSignup results. And what we're going to do is on the left, just click Add Stream and then Save Settings. So there are a few things in this area that you can customize if you want to. You'll see that there's a bunch of contact information that's pulled from your timer dashboard. So I had my questions contact URL set up to be, that could be like if you had a custom page set up on your website for your contact form for your timing company. You could set that up so that it always defaults to this specific URL for all of your result pages on RunSignup. And the result timer name will just show up on the results page at RunSignup as a nice way to call out that your company was timing this particular race. So just go ahead and click Add Stream and save settings because everything else should be done for you. So I'm going to click Add. It will automatically select new result set because I don't have any yet for this race. If you had some out there, it could give you an option to overwrite an existing result set, which may or may not be what you want to do, but it gives you the option to do it. You can change the result set title if you don't want it to say 5K overall results. You can just call it 5K if you want it. It is for the 5K scored events, and my pace is displayed in time per mile. And we are all gonna get all good to go here. These look fine. So I'm not gonna disable result notifications. I'm not really doing anything with that. I'm just gonna click Add Stream and save settings. So as soon as I do that, I now notice that this auto saves icon is green. So this basically means now this report is automatically saving to RunSignup. So it's going every 30 seconds and pushing results up to RunSignup. So as reads come in, I don't have to do anything. All I do is sit on the dashboard and watch them and make sure that things are looking good. And I'll know that my results are going to RunSignup. You can check down here under the report autosaves to see the last time this one went up was 150.54. So, and another few that just went now. So you'll see this update every 30 seconds. If you wanted to, you can pause autosaves right here. So if you said, you know, I'm setting this up before the race has started, you could pause it and you're not going to publish anymore. If you wanted to do some testing, or let's say you're like me and when I was timing, I wouldn't publish results until I've verified that the top 5 finishers are accurate, and then I start publishing results. So I actually usually start races with this paused and then resume it when I'm confident everything is looking good. So you can do that as needed. But now all of the results are going to be publishing as they come in. And I can see right here I have these live result links. So I could go ahead and click this and I'll see my results on RunSignup. So I've got these all publishing in real time. And if this particular race had result notifications enabled and people registered to get tracked, they would get their notifications. So all working pretty seamlessly. So let's see. Yep, you can pause and resume like I mentioned. And I believe that is it for all of my polls. Well, no, I have one left. Were you able to upload results to RunSignup? All right, looks like everybody who's responded has said yes, that they have, so that's good. So I believe that we are pretty good at this point. So now we are just, all we need to do is submit the quiz. So I do have the quiz linked in the slide deck as well as in the document that was provided. So you'll see this link to quiz here. And if you go into the link, it will ask you some questions just about like address information first. We'll send you a gift when you get officially certified. And then you have to answer some basic questions about the race setup. They're not going to try and stump you. They're just basically making sure that you actually went through the course. So go ahead and submit the quiz at your as you have time. You don't need to get it done today. Definitely not within the class session. You can finish up tomorrow or later in the week. We review these periodically, so probably have the last round of these approved by the end of the week. If you do have any questions as you're working on this, you can submit your race file for review in RaceDay scoring. So you can use the Get Help icon in the top right and submit a help ticket with a race loaded. And what this will do is it'll give us a copy of the race at the time that you hit that button. So if you say like, hey, I don't understand why bib 115's read wasn't selected, and submit it, our support team will just respond in like 10 minutes probably. We're super quick, this is the best way to get in touch with us, and it gives us everything we need to answer your questions. So this is the best way to get in touch. It'll send us an email right away with everything that we need from this race you have loaded. And that is all we have for today. Again, we do have a bunch of help docs. I have them linked in our guide. If you like reading, you can go through that. But also, I think the best way is just to play around with the software. And if you run into anything that you're confused about, use the in-app help and ask us. We're more than happy to assist you. And especially on the weekends, if you're using this in a real race and you're really stuck on something and you have a problem, you can use the helpline. So we have people on staff on the weekends monitoring the helplines specifically for this reason. They're really good at helping you troubleshoot in real time. So you do run into a situation on race day, feel free to reach out. Our team on the weekends is usually not too busy. So definitely if you run into problems, use that. Otherwise, during the week, if you have a question about setup, best way is just to use the get help and we'll get back to you ASAP. In addition, if you're interested in learning more about best practices specifically for your company or your chip system that you use, scheduling a demo with CRISP is your next course of action. So if you are really interested in taking a deep dive into how you would rescore a race with RaceDay scoring that you've done in the past, or if you wanted to learn more about how you should best structure your folders or set up your streams, go ahead and get in touch with him. He has a really good job. This is what he does a lot of the time. Most of his days is just spent with talking with timers about best practices. So you can use this link here, calendly.com/RSU RaceDay tools to schedule a time. I think that's it for today. So we're bumping up on 2 o'clock now, so we're a little bit over on time. Thank you all for sticking with me, and feel free to finish up those quizzes whenever you do get a chance. And again, reach out with any questions. Our email is raceday@runsignup.com, or use that in-app help and we'll get back to you there. So I hope to hear again from you soon. Thanks for coming, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.
Brian, I think you're out of the shot a little bit. You got to move to your right. No, you're right. Brian, you're right. Okay. Thank you all for watching. This is the end of the video. If you'd like to see more videos from us, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and then all. That'll keep you up to date when we post new videos. If you'd like to click the thumbs up button and let us know you enjoyed this kind of content, we'd appreciate that. We'll see you in the next one. Brian, you're not even close to where I was saying.